Hey guys, we're going to take a look now. This will be the first example game for my blue-white artifact deck that is featuring the shield mages. Honestly, when I'm recording these videos, I haven't yet named this. Even my article sits in the editor untitled. So we're going to take a look here. This, like I said, will be first example game. Opening hand is really good. We have the ability to get both colors that we needed. 3 lands is also very nice. It's a nice balance. We have turn 2 play. Even a turn 1 play if we so wanted in the spell bomb, but really there's no point in getting that out right away. It's not really beneficial to you, so getting the wilds out on turn 1 is ideal. And you want to be able to play this Glint Hawk Idol on turn 2 instead of the Stormblade, because this will allow you to attack with this when you do play the Stormblade. Just one of those timing things that you want to be aware of as far as summoning sickness goes. So we're going to throw out Evolving Wilds. Opponent's playing green, which usually means some sort of aggro. If we go, client's a little slow today, so bear with me, but I'll fast forward it. Gonna pop my land, grab an island since we already have our white mana source. We're making sure we have both colors on the table, which is great. Maybe I'll just hit play for a while and let it go through. So get the Glint Hawk Idol down, like I said. It's going to give me the ability to, no, I'll slow it down, get that flying and attacking on next turn when I play an artifact. So, opponent's first turn is first play at least, is a Young Wolf, followed up by a Life Staff. And he's playing green and black. This tells me that instead of being some kind of stompy, what he's got going on is going to be some kind of self-sacrifice, undying, morbid deck. Definitely a fun thing. I think I might play around with it in one of my future articles, because I've played against several, I've played with several. Definitely a lot of fun, like I said. So, he doesn't have anything to attack, can't equip. We're going to pass the turn. If the client so lets me, we'll go back to play, I guess. So, finally get our first shield mage, which is great. Finally going to play the Stormblade as well, which gives us the opportunity to attack through with the idol. No other real play here. The Stormblade is not going to be big yet, but we do have some options now because of the flash on the shield mage that we can use in response to an attack, pump up the Stormblade into something that it was not expected, and prevent damage off creatures as well. So lots of potential there. And because we don't really have a 1 mana play, we have the ability to throw out Evolving Wilds here and gonna get a second Plains. The color base is really close between blue and white, so it's not a huge choice. I already have a second blue in hand, so I wanted to go for that second white mana. Now you could say to me, you could have played Spell Bomb. You have the opportunity there, but I really felt that it was a better play to get the Evolving Wilds out there as soon as possible, thin out the deck a little, and shore up your mana base really well. And now we draw into a second Shield Mage, which is awesome. Can't get much better than that. And my opponent did play a second Young Wolf. So we're going to be able to get some combat tricks going here. We will not do anything. What I probably could have done there is, either played the Spell Bomb or activated the idol to attack. By not activating the idol, it's giving my opponent, the indication that I have another play, which I do. So at the very least, what I should have done was to activate the idol for 1 blue and attacked, and that still would have left me 3 open to play the Shield Mage during his phase. So he's going to attack through with the Young Wolves. He really wants them to die. It's undying. It's the key mechanic here. So I will play out the first Shield Mage is going to activate my idol, and we get this nice little prevention shield, so we're going to be able to chump block both the wolves and kill them off easily. Now, they do come back bigger, which is a bit of a problem, and even worse, he does get a Hunger of the Howlpack, which gave him extra +1/+1 counters for his Young Wolf. So now we're sitting across from a 5/5 as well as a 3/2 thanks to the staff. Not really worried about it because now we've drawn into Momentary Blink, so we are currently sitting with several. We have 1 on the field, we have 1 in the hand, and the 1 on the field means that we'll have the Blink. So we basically in our hand have 3 opportunities to prevent damage to these creatures. So going to attack there. Again, I think maybe here it's not as big a deal. Here it would just look like I'm trying to block with the idol during the next turn. So it may not be such a big deal that I didn't turn it into a flyer, but you still have the opportunity to do so and get through the air because he's all these ground creatures. Now, you have a couple plays here, and it's an interesting situation. I'm good with words. So, what we have here is two options. The first is to play a shield mage, the second is to blink a current shield mage. Now, the ideal play is basically to do blink, because when we blink the shield mage, we are going to have mana available to use accumulated knowledge. However, my opponent is playing black, which means there are instant speed kill spells and 3 cards in hand, so there are lots of opportunities for him to be able to kill that in response to my blink. Now, what would happen there is if he did do that, the blink would get cancelled, it would go to the grave, and I would not be able to prevent the damage coming through. So I'm just telling you this so you can see where I made a wrong play. Even though this looks like it was a great play, it really was not the right play. What I should have done, knowing my opponent is playing black, is to play the second shield mage from my hand. There was really no rush on the blink. I would have had 2 versions of shield mage there that I could have used. The only problem would have been, I guess, an echoing decay. That would have definitely screwed up my plans. So I'm not so concerned about this life gain he's getting off the staff. My creatures are staying alive and his are dying, so that puts me in a much better position. And eventually I'm going to be able to work down that extra life that he gained off the staff. I choose to block off the first wolf with the idol, and the second wolf with the shield mage, and that's just going to prevent all the damage that would have been done there. The only trade is for the young wolf dying. Now comes down the bear, the nice little morbid bear. I had a lot of fun drafting with that guy. So he's going to get 2 counters and be a 4/4 for 3. You can't complain about that. And now we draw into a third shield mage, which is excellent, and our second accumulated knowledge, first one being in the grave after that last play. So we have a lot of options available. We have the 4 mana we need for blink, and we're going to be able to, there's my phone, going to be able to activate the idol here if we so desired. I guess I'm thinking a couple turns later, but we have the opportunity to activate the idol by itself. I do play the spell bomb in order to activate it here, and I'm going to be able to attack through on the air. I have plenty of options for fogging out this damage, so I can feel free to attack through with those. I think I had a couple sloppy turns here, and that's the basis of this. I didn't actually attack through at all there. I played the spell bomb and then didn't activate it at any point in time, which tells my opponent that I have plays available to me, and it's just a real sloppy turn. But he is going to attack through with 2 creatures. They're both at 5 damage. What this gives me the ability to do is I can now play another shield mage. This activates the bird, and I can use 1 creature to just chump block and prevent the damage from the bear. And then use 3 of the other creatures to block the wolf, or vice versa, in order to actually kill off one of the creatures and at the same time not take damage. So now you can see where this gets a little frustrating. Oh, that's right. Jeez, look at me. I'm making myself look silly. I actually was able to kill off both of them because the Esper Stormblade is a 3/2 as opposed to a 2/2. So that gives me the ability to get around the 5 toughness of the wolf, and yet at the same time block off the 4 toughness of the bear and kill those both off in the same turn. Now, like I said, my opponent is going up life here, and that's not a huge concern for me. He is pretty good about getting to play extra creatures every turn, but I have the blinks, I have these shield mages available to me, and it's not going to be an issue at all. You see here is where I do activate the bird finally on its own to swing through the air for 5 damage. Kind of the other thing going on for me here is all the evasion you get on these creatures. I think the only ones we don't have with the evasion is going to be the shield mages, and they prevent damage, so your whole creature base is very tricky to deal with. And now we also have the ability, we could play the gargoyle, but we don't have any artifacts, so just keep that in mind. You don't want to play that and make a mistake there. I do have the mana available, however, to activate the spell bomb, and still enough to play the accumulated knowledge, or blink one of the Aethersworn shield mages, or play the shield mage. I do decide that might as well play the mirror token. It's not really going to hurt me at all. He can attack through for 3. I'm still at 18, so taking a little damage is not going to be so hard. And let's get that in the grave, maybe a couple other artifacts, and then we can get this gargoyle to be of some use in some form. So he decides to just pass the turn, does get out a fume spitter, which is very nice. Now we get, you see one of the activations with Glint Hawk, so we have yet another way. We're sitting with, basically 3 fog effects for my creatures here because we have a Shield Mage in hand. We have the Glint Hawk to allow me to return another one, and then we have Blink on the field, so we have lots of options available to us. Now I play the Artifact land, which does trigger the idol, because you see here it says whenever it enters the battlefield, it doesn't have to be something that, like the chamber that creates the golem tokens, it doesn't have to be an actual played thing. So just putting those lands into play is going to activate the bird, and we're going to be able to swing through with all these flyers. And you see I was able to return one of these shield mages. And we're at this point, we've hit enough land drops now that, we'll be able to have mana available for that, as well as 2 extra mana for accumulated knowledge or mana leak if necessary. So things are going pretty well. He decides to finally use his Haunted Fengraf here to return a creature to his hand. I don't know if he's going to consider this a good or bad return. If we go here and we can show you, hit play here. Yep, he does get a Young Wolf, which I don't think is a great thing. He's really in a bad spot because of all my flying and all the evasion. But, I guess it's the weakest of the creatures in his graveyard. I think maybe having the bear is a great thing. And the Fume Spitters are really great in this deck, if you're ever going to try out a Morbid Undying deck, because they give you that Morbid ability on your terms. Sorry, I feel like I just woke up here. Mouth is not quite connecting with my brain. So he's going to use the Fume Spitter to get rid of the Mirror token. I had assumed he was doing so in order to play something else with, some kind of Morbid ability, but did not, so I don't know if that was just frustration setting in. We do finally get a Golem Foundry. This is a chamber, man. That's what I was talking about. With this card, you have to actually have an artifact spell that is played. It can't just be the artifact lands, they will not trigger it. So I'm going to throw that down before I make any other play. And that's going to, of course, make my Hawk Idol a bird. I'm going to be able to swing through the air for 7, which will take my opponent down. Oh, wait, he had a play. That's right, he does play Altar's Reap, which was a nice thing for this deck as well. You sacrifice a creature or 2, and sacrifice a creature, draw 2. Jeez, I'm having one of those days, So he's going to draw cards off this. The game's pretty much just out of his hands at this point in time. I guess the only benefit here is he's getting some life gain off the staff, but I'm really at an advantage. I have another Hawk to return the Shield Mage. I have, a second Shield Mage that he doesn't know about. Mana Leak isn't going to be a huge deal at this point in the game. He is a little, 5 is probably about the top of your limit for being able to have an effective Mana Leak. Any mana count above that, it starts to decline in its value. But at the same time, I wanted to start, the aggro you can see is clearly in my favor, so I wanted to start putting charge counters on this Foundry. So I'm going to play the Gargoyle, and my only artifact is actually the Spell Bomb, but that's okay because, getting that recursion, it's going to give me a cheap play. On my next turn, I can play the Spell Bomb to get a counter, and then use, a Shield Mage for a 3rd counter and get that first Golem token out there. So plays a Peerless Mirror and gets the Young Wolf finally into play, attaches that Life Staff. So I have a great draw here with Oblivion Ring that's going to allow me to get rid of the Life Staff, which is, just the easiest thing to target. The life gain, like I said, isn't really going to help him much at this point in the game, but at this point in time, it's the only option. So we are going to play the Spell Bomb, activate the Idol, and that gives us our 3rd counter there on the Foundry. And now we're going to attack through with all my flyers, and that should, I'm going to do math here, that should be exactly 9 damage for him through the air. So, we were definitely sitting pretty at this point in the game. like I said, we still had basically 3 shield mates available to us, as well as an extra momentary blink in the graveyard. So we had 4 opportunities for us to use this shield mage prevention. Clearly, I'm going to be tripping over this word through all of these videos, so I guess I should apologize now. But there you go. This is, I thought, a great interaction. Shows how the counts on the shield mages really start to add up.